he looks goofy, obviously. And then he goes through all of this. And, like, you see how fast it's moving? I'm going at 0.25 speed. Like, if you're watching that normally, you're like, what is going on? Like, all right, so it is time for the reactions. Oh, snap. All right, hold on. So I don't really have any videos right now on my screen. I'm kind of like on this, I kind of want to watch this, so we're going to look at that in a few. But before I do any of that, let me just say that my comic book tips and tricks, the compendium, is right on screen. You can go check this out. This is, you grab it for $10. I talked about this earlier inside of this, video. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can definitely, follow me on Patreon, and you can watch this entire episode if you become a patron for $5 a month, or $15 if you want to see it earlier. But yeah, definitely go check out this book. It goes through my entire process of, my creative process of creating an idea, script, thumbnails, final pages, all that. It's inside of the 4-step guide. It's also talks about how to draw hair. I have hair tutorials in there. I have how to draw basics in there. I have some emails that go like isn't that email chains? What is it? There's a word for this. Newsletter. Keep on forgetting about the newsletter. That's in there. There's some other stuff in there that like I'm blanking on right now. There's these cards that I have. It's like character creation cards. They're in there. There's world building worksheets in there. There's a lot of stuff in there. So, definitely go check it out. It's only $10. You can buy it on my, Gumroad. It's pretty cool. I have my Linktree right there, and it'll also be inside the description box below. But we're going to get to it. I'm going to watch this video, and then maybe we can find, something else to react to. So we'll see what happens. We're just going to go for it.
How did a manga artist who drew like this become one of the most famous mangaka of all time? This author's name is One, and at the beginning of his career, his art looked pretty rough, especially compared to a lot of stuff out there. But here's the thing. One had a very special skill: storytelling. Even though a lot of people were telling him that his art literally sucks, he just kept grinding and eventually created One Punch Man. This manga became pretty popular despite its unusual artwork. While all this was happening, a man called Yusuke Murata, one of the most talented artists ever, discovered One's work, saw the potential, and said, I want to work with you now. A combination of One's genius storytelling and Murata's drawing skills made One Punch Man an absolute banger. And it became one of the most famous anime and manga series of these recent years. And One's drawings I showed you before? Well, that's how they look now. So yeah, this man is cooking.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of different stories about One. One of the stories I heard was right before he became a mangaka, he actually took an entire year where he was just grinding in terms of, just working. He worked overtime. He worked, I think, a couple jobs. He basically saved up a lot of money. I'm not sure if he, did something else like, live in a cheap area or, buy very cheap food or whatever. But I know he saved up a lot of money because he was like, I really want to make this dream come true. And this is what I heard. Don't take my word for gospel. Like, I'm not sure if this is actually true, but I heard this a long time ago and it just always stuck with me. But he worked really hard, saved up a lot of money. And because everybody was telling him that he wasn't a good artist and that he wasn't really going to go anywhere, he was like, no, I can write the best stories ever. And I guess I would assume during the time he was, working, he was also, thinking about different stories and, how to, put out a story that's going to be really interesting. And eventually, after he had enough money saved up, he said, I'm going to go for it. And that's when he came up with, One Punch Man. It was a webcomic that was hilarious. Even though it looks really bad, like people kept on coming back because it was hilarious. And then as they were reading it, they realized, wait, this is kind of deep too. And it's awesome. And it just kept on growing and growing and growing, and to the point where Yusuke Murata was like, these are perfect thumbnails. I am going to make this the best comic ever. And, voila, One Punch Man came. And during that time, he also was doing Mob Psycho 100. And I'm sure he has some other series as well. But, I mean, that was... Yeah, I mean, One is awesome. If I'm not mistaken, he is the one that draws Mob Psycho 100, and his art style has gotten very, very good as of late. You know what? I think this guy actually made another video about one. Give me 1 second. Is that it? Yeah, this is it. Yeah, hold on. Let's look at this.
How is it possible that the author of One Punch Man went from drawing like this to drawing like this? Listen, One Punch Man is freaking beautiful. The truth is, it used to look completely different from the masterpiece we see today. And that's because it was initially drawn by a guy called One. This dude was always amazing at writing cool stories, but his art was just, not the best. Until the artistic genius Yusuke Murata took over the drawing for One Punch Man. But here's the incredible part. One didn't just give his manga and stop drawing. No. This man kept grinding, working on One Punch Man as a writer while simultaneously drawing his new series, Mob Psycho 100. And even though One is now famous for his storytelling skills, he never stopped improving his drawing skill. Through years of consistent training and dedication, he evolved his art from stuff like this to panels that actually look awesome.
And there you go, everybody. I mean, don't give up. Keep on drawing. Keep on trying to figure out what you can do to improve. That's the name of the game. If you give up, then that's the end of it. That's one of the other wisest things I've ever heard. Like, once you close that door, it's a lot more difficult to open it back up. So, just keep on trying to improve in everything that you do, your storytelling, your art, backgrounds, if that's something that's important to you. That's definitely important to me. Like anatomy, if you want to focus on that, and not just comic books. I mean, in life in general, there's a lot of stuff that you're gonna learn as you get older. There's so many curveballs that pop up that you got to be ready for a lot of stuff. So, just never stop improving, because once you stop improving, it's a lot more difficult to, do what you need to do. So, hopefully that made sense. Hopefully that was coherent. Let me see if I can...
Sometimes characters completely lose their mind for no good reason. But what happens when they're 100% justified? Rudo from Gachiakuta has this scene where he gets so freaking mad and screams that he's going to take revenge on everyone. But what happened before? Rudo is a kid who got these massive injuries on his arms. They are so bad that he has to keep them covered with gloves all the time. On top of that, he was abandoned by his parents and had to survive in one of the worst areas of the city. But luckily, he got adopted by this genuinely good guy who took really good care of him. So everything is going great. Rudo is chilling, living his life, until one day someone sticks a big fat sword into this adoptive father guy. And when Rudo tries to help him, these guards show up and find him at the scene. And of course, they give him a chance to explain. Just kidding. They immediately decide it was him, bring him to the edge of a cliff, and throw him off. Crash out, valid.
I actually have not read that series. I've heard a lot of really good things, and I also know that it's obviously, it has blown up in recent years. So I definitely should give that a try, because I'm looking for something that'd be really cool to just dive into. There's a lot of different stories that I really want to dive into and learn from, and all this other stuff. Time is insane right now for me. Okay, so last thing that I want to react to, for today, this episode is going to be a little bit shorter, is going to be this. This is a video from the most recent, One Piece episode. I have not watched this episode yet. I've actually been watching the anime of One Piece for this entire Egghead arc. There's some episodes that I'm like, okay, I don't need to watch this again. You're just retelling the same background story. It's the same thing with what happened with Rebecca. That was her name. Rebecca, instead of Dressrosa. They told her story with her dad, who was the toy, a billion times inside the anime. I have not watched the anime inside of Dressrosa during that entire arc, but I've heard that was one of the biggest things to say, you know what? Stop watching One Piece. It's they keep on just going over the same thing over and over and over again. And then on top of that, they also when it comes to retelling what happened inside of the last episode, that takes up 5 minutes, and then you have 2 minutes of like the song, the opening song, you have 3 or 2 minutes for, you know, the ending song, and you only got like 21 minutes. So like right then and there, that took 10 minutes up right there. So I mean, it just, for me, it always got to the point where I'm like, okay, well, anime, watching One Piece anyway, is not necessarily like conducive to, you know, my life. You know, I really enjoy the manga. I think it's pretty fun, but at the same time, you know, watching the anime is always a pain, because on top of that, it also usually does not look that good, or at least it didn't. And then Egghead came out, and I was like, all right, I really want to watch this. Not only because like this is an amazing arc, you know, from start to finish, but on top of that, it was just like animated beautifully. So the majority of the beginning episodes in this arc were animated very, very well. A lot of the episodes during the Kuma background story was not really my cup of tea in terms of the animation style. Kind of like went back to what it was. Was not really that fun. But at the same time, I also enjoyed that story. So, I mean, it wasn't really that bad. However, you know, now they're about to pick it up again, because the fight scenes with the 5 elders coming is going to be really fun. So this is a spoiler warning for everybody out there that has not watched One Piece. This is going to be my reaction to this video. So let's do it. Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, no. Sorry, I'm trying to get this video on. All right, let's do this. You know, I'm going to continue. One thing I don't like about, you know, this, even though it looks really cool, and even though I very much so enjoy Gear 5 as a power-up, and I understand also why it's so goofy, and I think that, you know, is, you know, kind of like an endearing benefit of, you know, just like this character. Like, you get to see like him act this goofy and do all this other stuff. But one thing that I don't like is that they do a lot of over animation for no reason at all. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes it's like I'm confused as to what I'm looking at. And like, I just don't like that. It's so annoying. So like, you know, for instance, I'm gonna go back real quick. Like this last part, what was the purpose of this? What was the purpose of him closing his eyes and then having the camera like go around him? Like, I mean, it's just annoying. Like, why have that there? So I don't know. This is me. I mean, why is that there? Like, it looks cool. Yeah, I agree. All right, so first off, let me just say, again, it looks cool. You know, they did a good job with animating it. You know, it's, how can I say this? It looks cool, but why? It's like, I mean, why in terms of like, you know, was there so much extra? Like, I mean, when it comes to Gear 5, I can imagine that as an animator, knowing that this is like the Super Saiyan of One Piece, essentially, it's the power up that, you know, Luffy has, a beloved character for, you know, 1,000+ episodes and all this other stuff. And now you finally, as an animator, have free reign to make something super goofy. And, you know, I truly believe that Gear 5 was created for animation. So, you know, with that said, I can understand, like, you know, some of the stuff that they would do. But at the same time, they just, you know, there's some stuff that's just like, why is it so, like, I mean, the word would be ridiculous. And it makes sense because his, you know, his power is the most ridiculous. So, like, I get it. But, I mean, it's just insane sometimes. Like, why would they animate certain things like they're doing? So, I don't know. I don't really know how to, you know, really say this in a way that's coherent. All I can say is it doesn't necessarily make it, it doesn't make it better, but it doesn't make it bad. It's just sometimes confusing. You know, one of the best, like, let me see if I can pull that up real quick. One of the best, you know, examples of it being confusing that I can think of is when Luffy was fighting Kizaru. Kizaru. Is it going to pop up? Man, come on now. And Luffy versus Kizaru. I am not watching that full fight, but this is... Okay, yeah, right here. So this one, when he was in this cloud thing, it looks great. But some of this animation was just like, why? Now, I'll pause it when I talk about that, but let's look at this. This looks amazing. Okay, so something like that. I can't even see his reaction because it's so quick. Like, so for instance, hold on, I'm going to slow this down because the only way to actually truly appreciate his reaction is to see it very slowly. So let's look at this very slowly. I'm going to mute this so that way. Okay, so you see his reaction. You know, he looks goofy, obviously. And then he goes through all of this. And, like, you see how fast it's moving? I'm going at 0.25 speed. Like, if you're watching that normally, you're like, what is going on? Like, it's literally, if you blink, you miss the entire thing. So that's part of, like, why I feel the way I do sometimes when it comes to this animation. So I'm going to go back to the normal. All right, let's watch this. Very cool. I thought that was cool, but kind of also unnecessary. Looks cool, yes. Okay. So you see there, like, you understand that he got cut, but, like, you didn't see the cut. Like, maybe that's the point of it. He is light. I understand. But gee willikers, man. All right, hold on. If you're trying to read the subtitles, you're gonna miss all the animation. Like, I mean, why even read the subtitles? you're gonna miss the animation. So like that's another thing. And I'm just like, man, this is too much. So I mean, it looks cool. Again, whoever animated this did a really good job. I'm not trying to take away anything from them. They deserve all their flowers. But at the same time, holy shnikes, man. I mean, like I can't understand what I'm looking at. So let's do this again.
まあこれはこれで的がでかく。
なんてかかったなゴムゴムのドーンスタンプ
Okay, so I mean, hopefully you guys understand what I'm talking about. I mean, they sometimes they do a lot of over animation for no reason at all, and it's just kind of annoying. You know, that would be my only gripe with this new style of animation for One Piece. But at the exact same time, I mean, the other style was absolutely horrible. Sometimes it was just really, really bad. Like, so I don't know. There's definitely a happy medium. I'm not sure what that happy medium is in terms of episode wise. You know, I'm sure if you've watched One Piece, you understand and know. But that's the reason why I don't watch One Piece. Like, you know, I watch a few episodes every now and then. The Egghead arc, I've definitely watched the most amount of episodes inside of this arc. But to be brutally honest with you, I have no idea if I'm gonna keep on watching like the anime after this. I might just watch cool episodes that I have in mind for the future. So whenever they come out. But anyway, that's about it for this episode. You know, thank you again for everybody that's, you know, stuck with me this entire time. If you're watching this on YouTube, please go to my Patreon so that way you can watch this entire episode in full. You know, you could be a patron for $5 and watch this entire episode, as well as also 2 others. You know, if you if you become a $15 patron, then you will actually be able to see all these episodes come out a week earlier. So I really appreciate it. For everybody that has watched this up to this point, please leave your comments down below on what you'd like to see next from me. If you have any questions or suggestions or anything in that regard, please let me know, because I am trying to make these on a frequent basis, and I really want to have your feedback. So yeah, I mean, I think that's it. But thank you again so much for, you know, being a patron of mine. I really appreciate it. You guys rock so much. Yeah, I guess I'll let you guys go. So, deuces.